RNDR Token, one of the strongest altcoins in this crypto bull run, is entering its most critical time until the rest of this bull run, until approximately 2025. And this could be actually the last major opportunity with RNDR Token. We're talking about the next few months, possibly a year and a half from the recording of this video. Now briefly, RNDR Token is one of my channel's most favorite altcoins, okay? I did so many videos about RNDR. Probably RNDR and Solana are the two altcoins that I did the most videos about. And most of my videos about RNDR and Solana were actually 1 year ago, meaning back in 2023. And also this over here, I did this video just briefly in October 2023, just before the major launch of RNDR Token to its massive bull run. So I am still very bullish long term on RNDR. However, we are in very critical times that we've discussed on this channel also just a few months ago, and we've already hit a few targets that we've mentioned back in 2-3 months ago. And I think the big opportunity for RNDR Token could actually be ahead. And so in this video, I'm gonna discuss why RNDR Token is, in my opinion, gonna be really critical, okay? So first of all, look, let's start from Bitcoin, okay? Many people are still kind of hopeful that Bitcoin is gonna be really successful, and in my opinion, this bull run isn't over yet. However, at the moment, at least, just from looking at the chart, okay, and just analyzing what the chart is telling us, it looks like we actually could be having even more what I call relaxation times, okay, when crypto goes down and we get the really fantastic opportunities, okay? So let me show you an example with Bitcoin, for example, okay? So once we started the bull run in early 2023, right? So Bitcoin did a very nice 2x, just under 2x, okay? In the first part of 2023. Then what did RNDR do? RNDR showed us a lot more strength, and RNDR did, to my memory, approximately 4 to 5x in the first part of 2023. Then it had kind of a second, a much weaker a pump over here in April and May, right? So the really biggest move, the really biggest gains in RNDR were over here. This was a 4 or 5x. That secondary trade over here, I believe, was even, just a 2x, but that's from the bottom. But then, most importantly, also around the times when I was making the videos about RNDR Token, right? So over here, the major opportunity with RNDR Token happened in relaxation times, when everybody kind of forgot about crypto and was thinking, okay, it looks like crypto is dead, and looks like the bear market is still here, and it's going to be a lot more fierce. So this is when the big opportunity happens. Of course, this was the first big opportunity, but that was the bear market bottom. Now, this opportunity, in my opinion, was even much bigger, because you had a lot more confidence that RNDR is going to be a lot more successful. So this was basically a reaccumulation time here for RNDR. So I was saying any price below $2 was absolutely fantastic, and also $2 was still pretty great. Primarily, really, you can see here the 2.67. Once we really breached this level, there was no turning back, and to me at least, it was pretty clear that RNDR is gonna get at least to its all-time high, which was $8 at the time. So this was the relaxation time, right? And from that moment, RNDR Token, from the bottom, RNDR Token did something like at 8 to 9x, pretty close to a 10x. Now, in my opinion, RNDR Token is gonna have another opportunity for another 10x, maybe just slightly under, depends on many factors that we're gonna discuss here. But look, in a bull run, okay, it's pretty rare that Bitcoin and strong altcoins like RNDR are going below the Bitcoin bull market support band, which is the band here with red and green, okay? So, like you can see, since the start of the bull run, okay, so it breached. So in the bear market, it was underneath, right, and it was going down and down and down. And then in the bull market, it was above the bull market support band. So RNDR stayed above the bull market support band between here January 2023 until the relaxation time of July and August 2023. And you see, in the beginning, it was kind of bleeding here underneath, and then it just went further down, creating kind of a much bigger opportunity right here at $30 something, $40 something, instead of $1.80. Now, that was the relaxation time that I was talking about, right? Approximately between August to October 2023. That RNDR was below the bull market support band. Then afterwards, you can see render stayed above the bull market support band from October 2023 just until recently here in June 2024, which is 9 months, which is a very, very long bull market. Now, like we said, not all the altcoins are as strong as Render, right? So many have entered many bear markets of their own even before. But I have high confidence with Render just because throughout the whole bull market it was fantastic, just like Solana. So normally a coin that performs really, really well in any stages of the bull market, it will likely continue so in the rest of the bull market. So back to Bitcoin here, I just want to show you that Render did similarly to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin finally got above the bull market support band after being underneath throughout the whole bear market, right? So here from January 2023, it was above, and then it breached below in August 2023, just slightly after Render. And then we had a new relaxation time, very bearish, when most people are thinking crypto is going to head a lot lower. Right, so at the moment it looks like we've already either, you know, we're already in this relaxation time right now, with a possibility just to even further downside ahead. So this is what we're gonna find out within the next 1 month or so. But anyway, once the relaxation time was finally over, once we were back to the above the bull market support band, also for Bitcoin, similarly from October 2023. Until just recently here, late June 2024. So similarly, also Render slided back below the bull market support band just before Bitcoin, like 2 weeks before. Also here in June 2024, and also here, if you remember, back in late July, this is when Render slipped, and mid-August, this is when Bitcoin slipped. So, like I said, most important point, in my opinion, we're entering a similar phase to this phase over here. Or we're already, we're sort of in the beginning phases of this phase. Now, the video is not about Bitcoin, the video is primarily about Render. However, you will understand that Bitcoin is still very, very critical to execute, for me, at least to execute that trade moving forward with Render. So, at least at the moment, you know, Bitcoin is looking pretty bearish in the short term, and you know, it broke below the bull market support band and had not a very impressive pumps here. You know, to 62k, and at the moment it's being rejected just as we're actually about to close this week, right? So we're about to finish a first ever week for Bitcoin underneath the bull market support band over here, again, since October 2023. So again, it could be some deviation time, right? Like we've had over here. This deviation was like for 2 months, and actually also back in the 2021 bull run, we've had another deviation time also for 2 months at the time, which was also around the summer, which is very interesting. 2021 happened in the summer. Right now in 2024 we're in the summer, and in 2023 it was still kind of late summer, still August, right? It wasn't the winter. So that was Bitcoin and Render. Now let's discuss what are the price targets for me and what I think Render is likely to do, right? So because right now Bitcoin is pretty bearish, and some people think it's not gonna drop by a lot from here. But honestly, you know, first of all, as I'm recording the video, it's super close back to, you know, 59k again. And, you know, we have no idea, you know, what Bitcoin is going to do in the very, you know, immediate future. However, at least at the moment, just look for how long it keeps consolidating here again at 60k. So, in my personal opinion, Bitcoin has really, really good chances just revisiting that whole area again. That whole area, basically between 50k to 59k. Now look, normally Bitcoin does something on its own, right? So for example, at the very, very low of the bear market, I remember just so many people were expecting 13k or 10k or, you know, in the most bearish 3k, but also many people were actually thinking that this was the bottom here at 17k. I remember just really nobody thought for Bitcoin that the bottom is gonna be 15 to 16k. Me personally, by the way, I was thinking it's gonna be around 20k. I was also thinking it's gonna be slightly higher than the actual bottom. But once we reached here, even though thankfully I was able to buy also here some Bitcoin, once we reached here, similarly with the rest of the market, I was thinking it could reach 13k too. So my bottom line, normally at major, you know, bottoms, either bear market bottoms or kind of intermediate bottoms, normally this bottom kind of occurs where nobody expected to, where nobody is expecting that bottom to be there. So anyway, I'm just thinking, because many people are either thinking about this kind of 48 to 50K, or some people are maybe thinking just about 56K that we've recently had. I'm just thinking, you know, again, I have no idea if this is what will happen. It's just a guess based on what we explained here. Maybe it will reach something like a 53 to 54K. So this is approximately my target, right? Let's round it up to like mid 50K, but again, I'm very open. It's gonna be 50K or upper 40Ks. And again, like I said, I will have a stop loss. There is a chance, I don't think this is the bear market, but this is always possible that this is actually a beginning of a bear market. If it is one, it's not gonna be as severe as the last ones for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin didn't go up that much this time. However, it is possible. So I will always have stop losses in case I'm wrong. So that was Bitcoin. And Render, like we said, is once again practically really here in the relaxation times. So let's discuss finally the most important, in my opinion, technical analysis, more about Render, now that we understand the general context about Bitcoin and how Bitcoin affects the rest of the market. So with Render, you know, first of all, we will have this major trend line here for the future that will probably provide big resistance, right? So this was from the top here in March, and then it continued here in late March, and then, you know, that kind of secondary pump was unable to breach these levels again. And now we're consolidating, like we said, beneath the bull market support band. Now, like you can see, since the very start of the bull run and the end of the bear market, you can see that at least this trend line over here, the white one, has acted like a major support level, right? So we sort of started here, launched, and then in the last relaxation time, in kind of late summer 2023, Render was grinding upwards, right, this trend line. So this is thing number one that I'm gonna watch for basically within the next month or so, maybe 2 months. So Render, you know, could correct to back again kind of to this $6 region. So far there was a lot of demand, and look how many times Render was bought back again and again and again once it breached once it went just below $7. So it happened like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. 7 times already since March 2024. So the very first scenario I'm watching for is just this trend line over here, this very long one on the Render to USD chart. And you know, definitely it will, in my opinion, it's likely to have some support. However, there is, again, if Bitcoin does correct even kind of more than what I think, then, you know, Render can also break it. But this is going to be the first major place I'm going to watch for. So I'm not necessarily going to buy immediately here because, like I said, I'm going to watch what Bitcoin is doing also. And now let me show you one more critical Render chart that I'm watching to decide what to do next within this new relaxation time with Render and Bitcoin. So the secondary chart is what somewhat few people look for, but this is the Render versus the Bitcoin chart. Now let me show you, for example, now I want to be honest, for example, I didn't take the Render trade over here, unfortunately, just because I didn't see this chart. Now first of all, on the Render against Bitcoin chart, okay, why was actually Render so bullish, and what were the signals that Render was giving already early on, actually still in the bear market or in the very beginning of the bull market, that Render is going to be a very strong coin? So like you can see, actually, on Render against Bitcoin, you can see here, June 2022, October 2022, and December 2022. You see, Render was Render made here 3 higher lows. So on the wicks and also at the weekly closes. This is the weekly chart over here. So you see, this was a low, this was a higher low, and this was another third higher low with Render against Bitcoin. Why is that critical? Because Render against USD looked kind of flat over here. Now it did wick kind of, I guess the lowest part, the lowest price it ever had was over here in June 2022, but this was a liquidation. Well, if you really look at weekly closes, then you see this was actually a slightly lower low than here, the December one. So basically June October and December 2022, all of them, were around the same prices. They were all around 40 cents. And this looked kind of flat. However, like I said, I always look against valuations, against strong, major coins such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and also Solana in a few cases. So over here, you could see that render is gonna be massive in this bull market, which indeed it was. And these were the first clues, the success render had against Bitcoin. So that was back in 2022. Now, like you can see, so we kind of launched this bull market, and very early on, back in February 2023, render already reached kind of the higher end of this channel, and collapsed, then reached it again, collapsed again. And most recently, at the all-time high that render has right now was over here in March 2024, around $11. And at the moment over here, we have a lower high from here, right? So here, for example, we had a higher high from here, but this time we have a lower high, and we're entering again a new relaxation time, also against Bitcoin, similarly to what we've had over here. And again, interestingly, have a look that the relaxation time for render against Bitcoin even started here in early July, while render against USD started in mid-July, and Bitcoin against USD only started in August. So anyway, this time Bitcoin looks like it's starting its relaxation time only now, basically at the end of the current week. If just I'm right in my theory here about the relaxation time for the next few months, in the summer, once again, just like 2021 and 2023, it's very decent, right, that render also against Bitcoin and also against US dollar and also Bitcoin against US dollar will continue to bleed here, similarly to what it did back in the summer of 2023. So, over here, from the current prices, render against Bitcoin still has a pretty massive downside. So I will put it like this. In my opinion, this is, assuming we're still in a bull market, which I think we do, in my opinion, this is going to be like the really worst case scenario, like the biggest dump that render can do against Bitcoin. And again, this could be a very quick one. This could be a wick, like the weekly close can still be much, much higher than that eventually. But this is currently 34% down against Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin right now is 60K, and I am correct that Bitcoin is actually gonna go further down to, let's say, to 55K. So let's say to 55K, it's another 8% down for Bitcoin. For render, if it's gonna bleed another 30% from here, and then we can add like approximately another 8% to really make it something like a 43% down from its current USD price, that will be pretty severe, okay? So that will get us to around $4. Now, this is, in my opinion, like if I see render at this price, I'm gonna buy some with a stop loss, but I'm definitely gonna buy. However, I'm not gonna wait for this price. I think this price is actually less likely, the least likely. However, just in my opinion, if it does occur, it's going to be a major opportunity. So this is why personally I'm going to buy quite heavily, especially if I see that render against Bitcoin does kind of touch this point that we've shown on render against Bitcoin. But more realistically, like I discussed in a few other of my videos before, I think if this is a relaxation time, and again, like you have to understand, if this is a relaxation time, it means most of the market is thinking this is actually the bear market and everything's going to collapse a lot more. So, if render was holding here $6 quite well, but then it's going to just kind of spend some time in the $5 region, and also imagine that it's going to break this uptrend too, right? Then I think, it can bleed by approximately 30% or 20-something% against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin can correct to 50-something K. And then render could find itself here in the $5 region, something between 5 to 6. Now, this is, in my opinion, the more likely scenario, right? So my two more likely scenarios are either render is just going to bounce from this trend line over here. At $6, it's not going to really go below $6. Or also somewhat likely, I think it's actually going to bleed to around $5. However, it's not really gonna reach 4. Maybe again do a really quick capitulation and jump right back to 5 or 6. This is what I expect in terms of the downside for render, right? Let's just round it up between $4 to $6, maybe $5, somewhat most likely. Then guys, if all of that does occur, I did so many videos about render and I've already analyzed what is the upside that render could have in this bull run. Also, I did this analyzing way back here when render was between $1 to $2. However, I can still show you briefly here if we are really due to another massive, higher leg up in the overall crypto and in Bitcoin, then what I think can occur over here, this channel here can continue, right? And if render against Bitcoin does reach kind of these levels more right here, let's say it happens here like in August or something like that, and then let's say it's gonna bounce all the way to kind of the first part of 2025, or maybe it's something like a Q2 2025, then render can do a 5x against Bitcoin, okay, which could be absolutely insane. So that means, let's say if render does get to $5 or $4 and it has a 5x only against Bitcoin, so like in theory if Bitcoin just stays at 55k, which it won't, render can go from, we said $4, right? So a 5x it's gonna be $4 to $20. That's only if Bitcoin just stays at the same price, which again is, in my opinion, it's very unlikely. I think in this bull run Bitcoin has really good chances of reaching 100k and above that. So you can make your calculations based on how much you think Bitcoin is gonna get. However, really look at this channel, guys, okay? This is look how much of a fantastic top signal it is for render, at least for the short term. Even in the beginning phases of the bull run, still this correction was pretty severe over here, like a 50% correction against Bitcoin, then again a 47% correction against Bitcoin, and right now we're at I guess to the lows again it was around a 50% correction against Bitcoin. So in my opinion, to really make this summary really short, render against Bitcoin is the critical chart, and if render does get to these regions, or even like not to the very low end of this channel, but at least again kind of somewhere here, right? I think it can still go right back up to the upper end of this channel until the end of the bull run, and this is why, in my opinion, render could have one more 10x opportunity against US dollar. So guys, thank you very much for being here once again. I was AR7 Crypto, and have a fantastic week and a fantastic weekend ahead, and cheers as always.